I love the fact that I can talk about my accomplishments on this show, which means I can also talk about my downfalls, my defeats, my losses. After I did last week's show within the live in this community, I went to Twitter to do a poll if I should continue to do this on a live or stay where I'm at on Anchor. I left the poll open for 3 days, and the majority of it didn't want me to do the lives here anymore at first. Then it became 50-50. I basically had my supporters and the people who hated me doing the episode live. I don't call those haters, I still call them my alternative supporters because they're probably listening to me but still hate what I'm doing. The best thing about that is that I'm still getting paid. Bang, bang. So thank you, alternative supporters, for listening in. Too sweet, brothers and sisters. So what am I going to do with that poll outcome? Nothing. I just wanted to have a feel on how people felt. Why can't people adapt? I was going to keep it live and have the audio posted as the podcast still with no video because in this app that I'm using, it won't let you have a video of your live like some other toxic app. So what do we do? In the words of one awesome wise animal who I keep quoting every chance I get to every person that will listen to me, I'm going to stare at life right in the face and ask myself, WWDD, what would Dory do? Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. This episode of Under the Apron is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard yet, Anchor by Spotify is the easiest way to make a podcast with all the tools you need, all in one place. Just type in anchor.fm on your browser and start creating that podcast that you've been talking about starting all year long. Take advantage of Anchor's creation tools. You can record, edit, add music, or any type of audio you like right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast on many different listening platforms, such as Spotify, Apple, Google, or even Stitcher, and that's just to name a few. It's everything you need to make a podcast. And want to know what's the best part about it? Absolutely, totally free. Join us and download the Anchor app on your phone or go to anchor.fm on your browser to get started right away. Link will be in the show notes.
You're listening to Mama Murdered a Podcast. I'm your host, AB. Mama Murdered a Podcast is a podcast where me, the mama, will be killing it on the podcast. We'll be taking a deep dive into things that are hard to talk about and even harder to believe that these things actually happen in the world that we live in. This entire podcast will be a trigger warning. I'll be talking about triggering topics while I dive headfirst into a lot of the cases that I'll be covering. New episodes will be released every week on Wednesdays because nobody likes Mondays and because Fridays are for day drinking and barbecues. Some of the case topics will be murder, of course, serial killers, like Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, missing persons cases, like 5-year-old Summer Wells, who vanished from her own yard in broad daylight in the middle of June in Tennessee in 2021. And especially the ones where it kind of seems like they just vanished into thin air, like Brian Schaefer. He walked into a bar, but he never walked out. He's still never been seen again. I'll also be covering cold cases and lesser-known cases. Join me every Wednesday to talk about all things tragic, murder, and things that happen in the downright ugliest sides of society. If you like what you hear and you want to support the podcast, you can rate me on Spotify. You can also leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at murdered_mama. All of these things are free and they only take about a second to do, and it really does help grow the podcast. If you have any case suggestions, please send them my way. You can send them to the email address mamamurderedapodcast@gmail.com.
Welcome to episode 88. If you heard this episode before, great. I had no new episode this week. So I'm reaching into the Geek Vault and pulling out an old episode. and I'm doing it live. So please feel free to wait another week for a brand spanking new episode or hang out with us in the chat and listen to this one. It's a tale as old as time, and I posted it on my blog and said if anyone has any questions, comments, or problem with it, come talk to me here. Get on the guest box, let me know how you feel about that, and tell me your list. This is my favorite top 10 stables, groups, whatever you want to call it, of all time. If you stick around, please tell anyone that joins and says hi that I will be right with them. I am recording an episode of the podcast, and they can find that podcast on all streaming platforms such as Spotify and iTunes, to name a few. And you know what? I'm also going to list them. Hold on. Let me check. Where are they? Yeah, here it is. If you can count, let me know. You can listen to me on Spotify, Good Pods, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Podimo, Angami, Google Podcasts, Castro. I'm on the RSS feed, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Castbox, Radio Public, Stitcher, Pandora, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podyssey, Spreaker, TuneIn, and Pocket Cast. And Pocket Cast. That's a lot. I still have more I haven't mentioned, but these are the ones that I'm able to put up here on this website, blog. So yeah, if you go to Linktree, my Linktree, linktree.com/Apron, you will see more of those on that list. Too sweet. But I do want to point out the reason for a stable is to create chaos, destroy the competition, and secure any and all titles that are available. So not a lot of favorites were chosen, but I did look at the history of who I chose, and it was from all the companies that I've watched till now. So basically, we have a bit of New Japan, a bit of Mexican stables, a bit of ROH, TNA, WCW, ECW, WWE. I looked at everyone. So with that in mind, let me open up this bright blue, big, yellow, orange can of Zoa. Zero sugar, wild orange Zoa has antioxidants, electrolytes, aminos, camu camu, 100% DB vitamin C, B vitamins. Yummy. Number 10 is the Dangerous Alliance. Started in 1987 and evolved in 3 different companies. The group's name came from Paul Heyman, who was known back then as Paul E. Dangerously. Formed in AWA with Adrian Adonis and the Midnight Express. In 1991, he formed the Alliance in WCW when he got fired as commentator. He came back at Halloween Havoc and introduced everyone to the mysterious Phantom, which ended up being Ravishing Rick Rude. At Clash of Champions 17, Rick Rude defeated Sting for the WWE United States Championship. On the following episode of World Championship Wrestling TV, Heyman announced the formation of the Dangerous Alliance, which included Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko, Medusa, and stunning Steve Austin. ECW in 1993 dangerously revived the Alliance with Superfly, Jimmy Snuka. We all know how we feel about that person on this episode. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google him. And yeah, horrible. Anyway, Don Morocco. What she said. The Dark Patriot and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. In 1993 on Hardcore TV, dangerously added 2 new members into the group, ECW's champion Shane Douglas and Sherry Martel. The group also included Sabu as the bodyguard at one point. Other members included Tasmaniac and 911. 11 championships were held between them. Number 9, the Hart Foundation, originated in 1985 by brother-in-laws Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart as a tag team, and then modified its name as the new foundation between Jim Neidhart and Owen Hart. They really didn't become a complete stable until 1997 when Bret Hart reconciled with his brother Owen, brother-in-laws the British Bulldog and Jim Neidhart, and family friend Brian Pillman, who were involved in the deep trenches of the stable wars in the Attitude Era. After the death of After the death of Brian Pillman, the others continued on with the stable until the tragic Montreal Screwjob disbanded the entire group. The Hart Foundation name didn't come back until the early 2000s when Bret Hart's nephew and toxic wrestler Teddy Hart brought it back to team with third generation Hart. His cousins David Hart Smith, Natalia Neidhart, and Jack Evans, no relation, in Stampede Wrestling. In 2007, the Hart Foundation was back in the stable in WWE's developmental territory. Florida Championship Wrestling, which included Teddy Hart, D.H. Smith, Natalia Neidhart, and her husband Tyson Kidd, along with Ted DiBiase Jr., no relation. In 2008, WWE brought in D.H. Smith, Natalia, and Tyson to the main roster as the Hart Dynasty. This team only lasted until 2010. Hey, Sarah. In 2018, a new Hart Foundation stable is formed in Major League Wrestling with Teddy Hart, D.H. Smith, and Brian Pillman Jr. No relation. No relation at all. None. They have collectively held 17 championships together all across the states over the years. Alright. Number 8, the Fabulous Freebirds. Created in 1979 and the blueprint for every stable or three-man tag team that would require the defending of the tag team championship under the Freebird rule, originated as a tag team in Mid-South Wrestling with Michael P.S. Hayes, and P.S. stands for Pretty Sexy, and Terry Bam Bam Gordy. They didn't take long in adding third member Buddy Jack Roberts. They were the reason the Freebird rule was invented, which any 2 or 3 members can defend the team's championship. Number 7, the Stud Stable. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm waiting. The Stud Stable, first formed by the original Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller, in Southeastern Championship Wrestling in 1982. His version included Jimmy Golden, Lord Humongous. These are real wrestling names. Yeah. And the young Arn Anderson. There have been other versions. There have been other versions of the stable across other promotions, such as Continental Wrestling Association, which was created by Ron's brother, Robert Fuller. Gotta love the 80s, I agree. Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and in 1994, a similar version was created in WWE when Robert Fuller, known as Colonel Robert Parker, formed it with Terry Funk, Dick Slater, the Blacktop Bully, Bunkhouse Buck, Mang, and Arn Anderson. Anybody? No? Alright. We're just gonna go right past that. Okay. Collectively, they've held 41 championships. Past members include Arn Anderson, Dutch Mantell, Cactus Jack, Downtown Bruno, the star of Young Rock, which you know, Steve Austin, Barry Windham. I wanted to then go there. Right? Number 6, Los Ingobernables de Japón. Okay. The group is a spin-off branch from the Ingobernables in CML in Mexico. Ingobernables. When I first watched them, it was probably in 2016 when Jim Ross, Los Ingobernables de Japón, Japón, Japan. Oh my god. Circle back. Number 6, Los Ingobernables de Japón. The group is a spin-off branch from the Ingobernables de Mexico in CMLL. When I first watched them, thank you, Sarah. Really. When I first watched them, it was probably in 2016 when Jim Ross was working for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was trying to say it, but he kept having trouble with his Spanish. Japan members Tetsuya Naito, Bushi, and Evil, which started in November 2015. Evil betrayed the group in 2020 after he won the New Japan Cup and joined the Bullet Club. Other members include Shingo Takagi, Sanada, Hiromi Takahashi, Rush, who's also a member of the Spanish version of the group and joined the Japan version in 2015. He is now in AEW. Jay Leto, who mainly represented the group in Ring of Honor, but nothing was mentioned during his matches. They held 28 championships altogether. A G1 Climax in 2017. Best of the Super Juniors in 2018, 2020, and 2021. New Japan Cup in 2020 and 2016. Alright, before I move on, honorable mentions are, I have 3 of them. Los Perros del Mal, or the Dogs of Evil, originally created in Mexico in CMLL, which consisted of mainly heel luchadors and founded by Pedro Aguayo Jr. And for those that don't know, CMLL means Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre. Nailed it. The group originally started as La Furia del Norte, or the Fury of the North, but was changed and evolved into the Dogs of Evil, Perros del Mal, as wrestlers not from the North started joining. On June 6th at AAA Biggest Event of the Year, Triple Mania 18, Pedro Aguayo Jr., Damien 666, Halloween, and LA Park started an invasion in the promotion. At one time, there were 33 members in the stable. Sadly, the stable discontinued due to the loss of Pedro Aguayo Jr. that happened in 2015. Other past members include Hector Garza, Ivelisse, LA Park, Psychosis, Pentagon Dark, who still wears the 3 scratches on the back of his wrestling gear as tribute, Taya Valkyrie, Teddy Hart. Collectively, they've held 12 championship reigns, the King of Kings tournament in 2012 and 2016, and the Triple Mania Cup in 2014. Thank you for the sun, goody girls. Thank you for the 100, Sarah Sweets. I really appreciate it. Too sweet. Get it. I'll leave now. The second one, The New Day, originally formed in July 2021. I'm sorry, originally formed in July 21 of 2014. An episode of Raw, an idea pitched by Xavier Woods after not getting any screen time or creative storyline direction with Big A. Langston. They decided to become the snarky, intelligent, total punk heels. They wanted to include a third person but had their doubts when Kofi Kingston was offered, as he had been a babyface since his debut. According to Woods, the group were supposed to be 3 guys who came from kind of the same background that just want more from life, more from their jobs, and more from their friends as well. More from everything around them. The trio the trio stated they had considered adding a woman to the group. with Sasha Banks being their top pick. Can you imagine Sasha Banks with unicorn head and throwing pancakes out at the crowd and the dancing? WWE Women's. No, I'm kidding. All right. Big E also revealed that Alicia Fox and Damien Sandow were considered additions to the stable. Damien Sandow. Uh, they used to be the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions at 483 days, with 14 championships between them under the Freebird rule. Nope, you can't imagine. The third one that's up here, the Dudley Boyz, established in 1995 in ECW by Big Daddy Dudley. He had his boys, Dudley Dudley, Big Dick Dudley, and Snot Dudley, and we're only supposed to be a comedic team, family group of jobbers. Snot Dudley left the group and ECW due to a jet ski accident and was replaced by Dances with Dudley. The group was expanded when they added obese member Chubby Dudley and deaf member Sign Guy Dudley into the group. In October of 1995, Bubba Ray Dudley was added to the group as a stuttering hillbilly who entertained fans by dancing and mostly wrestled with his brother Little Spike Dudley. Devon Dudley joined ECW in April 1996 as well and was hostile towards the family, claimed the true Dudleys were not comedians. In February of 1997, Devon and Bubba Ray kicked everyone out of the Dudley family except for Sign Guy Dudley and Big Dick Dudley. They made their way to WWE with Spike Dudley and in TNA as Team 3D with a total of 40 combined championships. The reason they are not on this list and are honorable mentions, even though they started as a group of stable, years later they would be known as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And that is partially without Spike Dudley or the other members. Welcome back, podcasting geeks. Don't worry, the show's almost halfway over. Just sit back, relax, and light up a candle from Dark Fate Creations and just... Huh? Wait, what? You don't have a Dark Fate Creations candle? What do you mean you don't? I've only mentioned it for about 20 episodes. Alright, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to darkfatecreations.com. All one word. Fine, I'll have the link in the show notes. And you're gonna buy yourself a unique Cottonwick candle. Just go check it out for yourself. I'll wait. And while I'm waiting and you're clicking on the site and browsing, pick up the vibrant, colorful Marble Tops mouth freaking watering fragrances. It makes me want to do that rock sniff that he does all the time. They're fueled by lovely braided cotton wicks. They are paper threads woven into every cotton wick for a clean, romantic, slow, and consistent burn. Are you deciding? Each candle is unique from the next because they are hand mixed and hand poured in good old Grass Valley, California. They use only coconut and soy wax for a safer, cleaner, and almost 72 hours burn time. That's like 3 days worth of binge time on whatever podcast you're listening to or TV show you're watching. And not only do they care about the look, but also the quality and fragrance of the candles and the effects it has in your homes. So check them out. Buy a few this holiday season. Buy them for birthdays. Buy them for wedding gifts. Or just buy them for yourself. You deserve that. But let me know which one you picked up. Once again, that's darkfatecreations.com. Link will be in the show notes.
Hi everyone, this is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
All right, back to the top 10. Number 5, the Heenan family. Original incarnation from the brain of Bobby Heenan that started in the American Wrestling Association in 1974 as a manager to Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, and later formed the group stable with Bobby Duncan Sr. Also included in the first incarnation were the Blackjacks, Lanza, and Mulligan, also known as Robert DeRoy Wyndham. Between 1974 and 1984, when he joined the WWF, he was in other promotions, including Georgia Championship Wrestling. Heenan made his debut in 1984, and the first member of the Heenan family originally was supposed to be Jesse the Body Ventura, but he was forced to retire due to health problems. So Big John Studd replaced him. Between 1984 and 1993, when Heenan left WWE for WCW, the Heenan family was legit stable with 29 championships under their belt and big names such as Andre the Giant, Haku, the Barbarian, Hercules, King Kong Bundy, Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, and the Brainbusters. Thank you for the love bear. I love it. The love bear. There's someone out there a love bear. Never do that again. Number 4, DX, D-Generation X, or the stable that got mostly all young kids in trouble at school. Founded in August 11th between two best friends in the backstage area known as the Clique. In the midst of the Attitude Era in 1997, Shawn Michaels teamed up with Triple H and Chyna with the inclusion of someone who wasn't doing much in the backstage area, but was hired, Rick Rude, as the insurance policy. The group added more people to the stable on the night after WrestleMania 15, when Shawn Michaels left the group to rehab his bad back. He was out for 6 months. The New Age Outlaws, the New Age Outlaws, the Road Dogg, Jesse James, and Badass Daddy Ass Scissor Me Baby Billy Gunn joined the group as well as a member of the Clique and recently released from WCW and former NWO member X-Pac. Together, they held over 27 championships as a stable, with the inclusion of the Women's Championship held by Stephanie McMahon Hemsley when she joined. If you're not down with that, there's always 2 words for you. Suck it. Oh, number 3 is going to cause a lot of controversy. I can see it. Whoever wants something to say about this, let me know. Number 3 of my favorite stables of all time, top 10 of my favorite stables of all time, is the 4 Horsemen. Original members formed in 1985 by Ric Flair, brothers Ole, brothers Ole and Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard, who brought in his manager James J. Dillon to serve as the manager of the group. The name was derived from an impromptu interview when Arn Anderson uttered the words, "The only time this much havoc has been wreaked by this few number of people, you need to go all the way back to the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse." I'm sorry I didn't do it justice. Woo! Add that to everyone in the group forming the number 4 with their hands, and everyone in the group with a championship belt. Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard lived the gimmick outside of the ring, as well as they were very close friends. Over the years, there have been many incarnations of the group, and I'm sure you can find someone out there and ask them which members were their favorite, and someone will always pick the 2 leaders of the group, Ric Flair and Anderson, and then the 2 guys that replaced them. Together, they all held 32 championships collectively. Number 2, the NWO for life. Hey yo, Chico. Bash at the Beach, July 7th, 1996. Hogan drops a leg so hard on Randy Savage. Hulk Hogan is feeling it to this day. Damn, too soon? Oh well. um, it is too sweet. He joins his friends, former WWE guys, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. He grabs the mic and tells the Hulkamaniacs to stick it, brother. And thus, the new world order of professional wrestling was born, brother. The start of the revolution began. And it is only then that we all know shit is about to get real. With a combined total of 41 championships, a lot of Pro Wrestling Illustrated awards, and I'm going to say it, the ending of the most famous undefeated streak, and the total combined 62 members 62 members into the group since its inception in 1996. They were the top of the food chain and the best thing happening. Too sweet. And then number one came about. Brianna kicks to Hart and Contra Avenue. Welcome. Number one with a bullet. With a bullet to my heart. Number one, the Bullet Club. The group was formed in 2013 by Prince Devitt, or as everyone knows him now by Finn Balor. He got together with Carl Anderson, Bad Luck Fale, and Tama Tonga to form the stable. Before the year was over, the stable was joined by 3 other wrestlers, the Young Bucks and Doc Gallows. In 2014, Balor left the group and was replaced by AJ Styles, as well as Japanese wrestler Yoshihiro Takahashi. In 2017, the Bullet Club has gone on record as winning every belt that New Japan has to offer. When AJ Styles, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson left for greener pastures, they brought in more members, and one was Kenny Omega, who became the official leader of the group. The Young Bucks and Omega would branch off and split to become the Elite. The Elite. Too sweet. Sorry. Jay White took over as the second leader, but because of COVID restrictions in 2020, the real leader was Evil, who had just come into the group. There have been a total of 44 members in the group that have joined or left or kicked out. They have collectively won 80 plus championships around the world, as well as World Cups or G1 Climax tournaments. That's going to do it for this episode, but before I go, I want to give a major shout out to the following people. Of course, I always shout out to people that support me, because I love supporting back. They've been sending their support by becoming fans of the show, so I'm sending them a very special shout out to them. First of all, the first 3 people that were here. Brenda Lamour, 1. Sarah, Sweet 80, and Goody Girl. You guys rock. Simply Kyle 88. P being realistic. Told her I'd give her a shout out last week, and I haven't, so here you go. It's only AA Ron Relax, Hydrangea Water, JC Brewer, and Pucks, who have been awesome sending me gifts and all that stuff. Ooh, did I mention why they're shouted out? Oh well. Thank you for the gifts, guys. Here's your shout out for the night. Actually, there was one more I was going to give a shout out to. Hold on. And a very special shout out to my boy, Sweater Bob. Me and him are going to be collaborating real soon together. You'll find out later on in a few weeks. Thank you for supporting tonight, listening and watching the show live. You can find us on all other sort of social or audio streaming platforms at our Linktree at linktree.com/from under the apron. It has the link to our blog, our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube socials, plus our Good Pods, Spotify, and iTunes accounts, where you can listen to us as well as leave us a comment or a 5-star review, which helps us be discovered by other fans of wrestling and podcast, as well as the 20 other music and podcast streaming services. Check out the show notes for links to other podcast trailers that you heard on this episode. Send us a message of your favorite wrestling stories, questions, comments, ratings, or requests by email. It is from undertheapron@gmail.com. And I will do my best to get to them and answer accordingly. Thank you for listening, joining the live, staying, hanging out, the gifts, and being a huge part of this community. Tell your friends, join us next time for more stories, movies, and TV show reviews, as well as wrestling-related stories when we come to you from Under the Apron. You're awesome. I'm proud of you.